Okay, today we're going to talk about Chicago quarterbacks, or possible Chicago quarterbacks, because in my honest opinion, I don't think Mitch Trubisky is not going to be there next year, or be the guaranteed starter next year. His play is kind of pedestrian, like, he doesn't make enough good plays, his arm seems kind of limited, and I just don't I think that offense is too good for them to keep that bad of a quarterback with that lack of an arm. So, what are Chicago's options? I would say they could draft a quarterback, which I don't see them doing because they already spent a second round pick on Mitch Trubisky, and most teams won't go back-to-back quarterbacks with high draft picks, unless it's the Cardinals. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't think Trubisky is going to cut it next year. He might still be with the Bears, but I don't think he's going to be the man. Now, who will be on the free agent market next year? I feel like that's a lot more likely. So they could go with Teddy Bridgewater, currently backup to Drew Brees, but Drew Brees is currently hurt. But when Drew Brees comes back, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the backup again, and next year he's going to look for a team where he can actually be the starter. Now, I think Teddy Bridgewater wants to be on a good team. Like, he wants to be on a good team versus just being the starter, because he turned down an opportunity with the Dolphins because he knew that he'd just be just another quarterback for the Dolphins. That the Dolphins are rebuilding, so if you're a quarterback that wants a long-term career, Dolphins and Bengals probably not a good spot for you. But anyways, yeah, Teddy Bridgewater looks solid. Like, very rarely do you have a backup quarterback come in and production stays kind of the same. Right now in 2019, he has thrown for 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. Like, those are solid numbers for almost halfway through the season. Yeah, I think Teddy Bridgewater would be a great free agent get for Chicago. I just feel like Teddy Bridgewater would run that offense a lot more smoothly than Mitch Trubisky could at the moment. Now, like, it's weird. Like, usually when there's surprise things that happen in the draft, most of the time I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, when the Browns took Baker Mayfield first overall, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But when the Bears took Mitch Trubisky a couple years ago, I was like, why? Like, I legitimately thought he could have been dropped to the second round. Like, he was the most traditional quarterback in that draft class, because you had Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes. Now, I understand why they didn't take Patrick Mahomes, because he was kind of a work in progress. Like, Patrick Mahomes had to sit a whole year with Kansas City. So he was actually a more work in progress than people really realize. And Deshaun Watson, like, I don't understand. Like, I know he's not more of a traditional quarterback, but he's just been putting way better numbers up than Mitch Trubisky has. Yeah, I think this was a dud for Chicago. And that's saying something, because I actually think Chicago's been drafting really well. Like, they have a solid team put together. And that's why I think out of all the teams that probably will need a quarterback this year, or next season, is going to be, like, I feel like Teddy Bridgewater is more likely to go to the Bears because they actually have a good roster. Like, Teddy Bridgewater, if he leaves, like, if he decides he doesn't want to wait for Drew Brees to retire to take over, he's not going to take no team that has nothing and is in rebuilding mode, because he'd just be another passing quarterback. He already turned down the Dolphins for, to do that. I think the best place that he would want to go is a team that has talent, has a team already built. They just need one more person to bring them over the edge. And I feel like Chicago fits that bill better than most teams. Now, the other team I could see him going to is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I feel like, is a better team than people think they are, but I don't think they're still like the Bears. If Teddy Bridgewater is worried about how good the team will be and how likely he is to stay around, I would say the Bears are a better fit. And the thing is that I feel I don't see any other. The only other quarterback the Bears might get in free agency that I'm not sure about is Cam Newton, because Cam Newton's kind of in a weird spot right now, because the quarterback that the Panthers drafted was like, he's been playing pretty good. His name escapes me right now. He's not on my screen right now, but like he's been pretty good. Not like crazy numbers. Like, he's not going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's been productive. But, yeah, I don't know which. I think Cam Newton might be on the way out. And in that case, I would still go with Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater has been more consistent when he has played. Yes, Cam Newton has had more starts, but he has had a roller coaster of a career, and that's an understatement. Like, Cam Newton sometimes looks like the best quarterback to ever play the game, or at least the most athletic, and other times he looks like a running back that's trying to throw the ball like it was a wildcat formation. But I don't know. And if it was between Teddy Bridgewater and Cam Newton, if I were the Bears, I would go with Teddy Bridgewater. But Cam Newton's not a bad get either. Another team that might pick up Teddy Bridgewater is I had him listed. I think what is it? I think the Bengals. I think the Bengals might be looking for a new quarterback, because what they got now hasn't been working, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater would go there either, because he would just be another transitional quarterback. Like, he wouldn't be the guy they're looking for. When teams are rebuilding, most of the time they want to find a star quarterback in the draft to get everyone excited. The freaking Cardinals done that twice back-to-back years. But no. Oddly enough, the Broncos might pick up Teddy Bridgewater, but I still feel like Teddy Bridgewater's most likely landing place is Chicago. Because Chicago right now has a great offense coordinator and a head coach, and they can't do much with it because Mitch Trubisky is just too limited. Like, he looks pedestrian. What I mean by pedestrian means, like, he looks below average. Like, if you put obviously he's an athlete, but I feel like he's an average NFL quarterback. And he doesn't push the ball down the field. Like, he doesn't make any. He never has made a play in the NFL that makes me go, whoa. That takes me back. Like, I'm like, man, it's a play that if you're the other team, you're like, dang, we couldn't done anything better. That was just a great play. That's just a great throw in a tight coverage. But he's never done that. Maybe, like, if you go through the tape, I imagine you can find one or two. But most good quarterbacks can do that maybe once or twice a game versus a season. Like, when I watch Matthew Stafford, which is also kind of a controversial quarterback because he's also kind of up and down throughout his career, but almost every game, Matthew Stafford makes one or two plays that make me go, "Wow, that's a tight window." That was crazy arm strength that was just shown off right there, and Trubisky has never really shown that. A quarterback that was drafted in the same draft class, Patrick Mahomes, literally every other play that Patrick Mahomes does or is a part of is a wow play. Deshaun Watson has 3 plays a game that you go, wow, that's a crazy play. More with his legs, though, than his arms sometimes. But, yeah, I do not... I understand why the Bears drafted Trubisky when they... I understand why they drafted Trubisky that year. But to go up to the 2nd overall... Like, he looks like a backup quarterback. Now, he might still stay with the Bears, but he just, no. I don't think he would be the guaranteed starter next year. He kind of reminds me of Blake Bortles. Like, extremely like Blake Bortles. Like, just limited arm. Can move in the pocket pretty well. Make plays with his legs, but he just... like, his arm talent is just pedestrian. Like, it doesn't drive the ball downfield that well. And that's really important to have a huge arm in Chicago because they play in cold weather. Like, when you play in cold weather, you have to have a cannon for an arm. And I don't think he has that. Like, he doesn't have... 2 things you need to play in cold weather as a quarterback is a huge arm and big hands and a big body. Like, that's why Ben Roethlisberger was perfect for the Steelers. Like, he's big, he has a huge arm, he got big hands, and he can take a beating even in the cold. Like, if a smaller quarterback, like say Baker Mayfield went to Chicago or Buffalo Bills, like, he would struggle because when it came time when it was cold, he's smaller. He doesn't retain warmth that well, just plain and simple. That's just biology. And Baker Mayfield has a strong arm, but that's not his thing. His main thing is his accuracy. Like, he has a strong arm, but not enough where he could play in the cold effectively week by week. He can play in the cold, but not enough to be there week by week when half your home games have snow and sleet. But anyways, that's off topic. But yeah, I think Teddy Bridgewater has a big enough arm to go to Chicago and be in the cold and be able to throw the ball downfield and push that ball so the defense has to play off so they can get a running game going. Because Chicago doesn't have a bad running game. They got a good offensive line, which leaves up their wide receivers way open downfield, but they don't have a quarterback that can push the ball downfield. It just seems like a match made in heaven, Teddy Bridgewater with Chicago. And if I was Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know how, like, the relationship ended with the Vikings. Like he was originally drafted by the Vikings, went to the Jets, and then eventually traded to the Saints. But, like, imagine, like, I don't know how dicey that relationship is with the Vikings, but imagine playing the team that gave up on you twice a year. Like, that puts pressure on you, but at the same time, as a competitor, as an athlete, you can't, that drives you. And if he goes to Chicago, he gets the opportunity to show up the Vikings twice a year. I think the Vikings also have a good roster, and the North is scary. But overall, like, almost every team has this year it's going to be Green Bay, but like And like the last few years, it's been like first it was Chicago. I mean, first it was Vikings, and Chicago take over, and then Green Bay's going to take back over. So they're all the teams in the North are pretty competitive. But if Chicago has a good offense with that defense, if they can keep that defense together and just get a quarterback, that is a Super Bowl ready team. So that's my conclusion. Later on this week, I'm going to have more analysis on what the Lions are going to go. The Lions are going to do going forward. The Vikings and Green Bay. I'm going to go through the whole North because that's the teams I'm most familiar with, and so I thought I'd start there because I'm a Lions fan and I'm very familiar on how teams beat us, sadly to say. But that'd be all, and see you next week.